Yesterday we were doing um, the Roman Empire and how the Roman Empire unified uh, territories and came to be called the universal pragmatic civilization. And after that, it was up to uh, Jesus Christ to unify the people of the various territories of Rome who were not unified. I had spoken to you about the jurisprudence of Rome, which is the codification of laws, which is what the Romans did rather well as just as a codification. But what is important to note is that the Romans uh, discriminated against the non-Romans mainly because they felt that they were superior to the non-Romans since they had conquered the non-Romans. Okay, and therefore their logic was we can't have one particular set of laws. We can't have one particular set of laws applicable both to the conquerors and the conquered. And therefore, they had two different uh, set of laws. One which was applicable to the Romans and the other to the conquered people. And I also told you, as the empire grew bigger and bigger, they even decided to have another capital for the what they called the Eastern Roman Empire, which was called Constantinople. Sorry, which is in present-day Turkey, and the name of that city now is Istanbul, Istanbul, Istanbul. So Akshay will now tell us which emperor adopted Christianity as the religion of the Roman Empire.
Constantine
Ah,
in 311 BC, AD,
When,
through Edict of Milan,
when?
311 AD.
I am not sure of the dates. I have never been good with dates. There are always a little low. I thought it was 1313 when the Edict of Milan was issued. See, there was a 10-year hiatus. Sorry, please excuse me for that. It must be sounding terrible because of the mic. One second. Uh, so, actually, after Constantine adopted Christianity officially as the Roman religion, he faced a little bit of, what should we say? Uh, he faced a little bit of trouble in the form of opposition to it. So it took about 10 years, not about 10 years, it took him 10 years to convince everybody and pass an edict. Let's, okay, Emperor Constantine. Now, the thing is, let's first get to the pronunciation. Huh? When we are using this spelling, it is a Latin spelling, but the pronunciations that we use are two distinct pronunciations in our time now. One which comes from the British, which is Constantine. The British pronounce this as Constantine. The Americans pronounce it as Constantine. Okay, they pronounce it as Constantine. The British pronounce it as Constantine. Now, apparently, the correct Latin pronunciation for this, there is a very big uh, controversy of sort. Some people say this is the Latin spelling, and his name was pronounced Constantine. Okay, now this is what the Americans say, but what Italians say is that the Latin of this was Constantinus. That is what they say is the Latin. Okay. And in Italian, again, there is some controversy. One school of thought says the Italian pronunciation is Constantini. They claim that it is Constantini. Okay, and there is another set of people who claim that he is Constantino. Now, if you go by the general, uh, if you go by the general way in which people have pronounced the name of somebody, like Columbus is Latin. Apparently, in Italian, it is Colombo. 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 And the country that we know as Colombia, don't pronounce that as Colombia. It should be pronounced as Colombia. That is derived out of this. Even the Spanish apparently called him Colombo after the Italians did that. So Colombo as such, Colombia is named after Colombo. In America, you have the province called British Columbia at one time. It's not there anymore. Okay. And that was derived from Columbus and the great university. It's really great, breathtakingly wonderful place. Nothing like what I had seen before or after. They have an open air theater which can probably sit about 20,000 or 30,000 people. Amazing architecture. It's one of the oldest universities. That is also Columbia, Columbia. Columbia is named after Columbus, though it's the same person. The Latin derivation is Columbus, and the Italian and later the Spanish, the designation is apparently Colombo. So, Colum, the country Colombia is named after this Colombo pronunciation, and British Columbia and later on the University of Columbia, they are named after Columbus as such. So if you're going by that logic, it should be Constantinus and Constantino. It is something that I have tried to research on to the best of my abilities, and this is what I have found. It is certainly not Constantine. Okay, that you can rule out. That is an English spelling pronounced by the British as Constantine and by the Americans as Constantine, but uh, the others, Constantinus, I think is the correct spelling for Latin. Now, is it Constantini or is it Constantino is something that I cannot answer. So you'll have to forgive me for that. Okay. Uh, that is beyond my linguistic capability. And it's not for not trying that I don't know it. Despite trying, the more I try, the more confusing it becomes, the whole thing. But you have to wonder about one thing. When I talked about Colombo, did any thought occur to you? No thought.
Regarding what, sir?
Colombo, what did it remind you?
Christopher Columbus.
Sir.
Sri Lanka, sir. Port in
Ah,
Sri Lanka.
who said that?
Padma.
Ah, the capital of Sri Lanka is Colombo.
There is another Sri Jayawardhanapuri also.
Mm.
Sri Jayawardhanapuri.
And that they put later on. But I really wonder, obviously it's the Brits who named it Colombo. But why Colombo? He never came here. He never came here. So it beats the hell out of me as to why that particular place was called Colombo. If they had called it Vasco or something, I would have understood. I would have understood had they called it something like that. But that is a strange thing. Why was it named? If you can, try and do some research. Huh? Try and do some research. It'll be interesting. I don't know. You don't like doing these things, right? Why should we
No,
know
sir,
all
we
the...
like.
uh,
We like.
I don't know. This is like doing drugs, when you discover new things. The kick that you get when you do drugs, that is a kick you get when you learn new things and you research and learn new things, especially. Okay. Anyway, so you are aware of this word also, I'm sure. What does it mean?
Fixed, which doesn't change. Constant.
Hmm,
Mean.
okay. All right. Any other meaning? Fixed, unchanging. Hmm,
Constants and variables, like that in maths terms.
yeah,
Numerical.
constants. Yes, yes, yes. Ma'am,
Mm.
please, I know I'm a dunderhead, but just give me this much margin. I understand constants but why are they called constants? They're called constants after Constantine because he fought for 10 years to make Christianity the official uh, this thing of religion of the Roman Empire. So the actual meaning of constant originally was steadfast. Steadfast, not changing in that sense. So not changing is a derivative of being steadfast, unshakable in what you want to do, that kind of thing. So that's how the word constant came into English. It comes straight out of the name of Constantine due to his sticking to the one principle that he believed one should do. I don't know. Akshay says 311 CE is when the Edict of Milan was passed. I remember it as 313, but I don't know. I could be wrong. I'm never too great with dates, but just cross check once for your own reference. I'll also try. And Marcus Aurelius was around 140 CE. So, but then the kind of writing that Marcus Aurelius did, though he was an emperor, he did write a bit, and it was more his spoken word, which again apparently was written by different people. All those the are the ones that made philosophical thinking a part of the Roman emperor's persona. personality or persona. Marcus Aurelius was not just somebody who believed that let's go conquer the world. He was also a thinking person, thought about issues which are social and all that. And you'll see John Stuart Mill has great admiration for Marcus Aurelius. Uh, so it began with him, this whole thing of thinking, pondering about something, and not just being dogmatic and saying what I believe is right and what the others believe is wrong. So that little bit of introspection that is necessary, that began with Marcus Aurelius. So John Stuart Mill, I think, is absolutely right when he says that Marcus Aurelius is probably the greatest Roman emperor. Uh, well, I don't know. I tend to agree with him. Not that it matters whether nobody like me agrees with a great man like Mill or not, but I think Mill is rather clear and correct in his assessment of Marcus Aurelius. I wish I could have taught Marcus Aurelius a bit of him, but we don't have the time. That is always the problem, time. So once Christianity became the official religion, then, sorry again, that is what Christianity started doing. So if you are looking at, if you are basically looking at what is it that the Christians changed, I will first tell you what they changed, and after I tell you the changes they made, I will be able to tell you a few things which can be compared to ancient Indian philosophy. But first, let's do the main Christian beliefs. This, I'm making a big leap, uh, mainly because of the fact that we don't have the, we really don't have the liberty to discuss Christianity in detail. So, the first belief, it is not they numbered, they didn't do this. Right? although, mm, so the first thing that you have to remember, this is not the Christian 1, 2, 3, not their order. I am putting them for our convenience. It believes that all are connected in a divinely ordained universe. The universe is divinely ordained. Have you noticed one thing? Till the time that we find ah Maya, please close the door. See, any order that a king passed was called an edict. Do you know why it was called an edict? This happened right up to the 19th century. EDICT. Just now, friend Akshay has said the Edict of Milan. Any idea why it is called an edict? Hmm? Today, what do we call an executive order? Anyone?
Act or law.
Executive order. Act or law.
Ordinance.
Ordinance. Correct. We call it an ordinance. And where does the word ordinance come from? Ordinance comes from ordain. To ordain is to issue an ordinance. And since the Christians believed, and I'm going to come to that, believed that the universe is divinely ordained and the monarch of the world is God, a human being couldn't ordain things. He couldn't pass an ordinance. So therefore they found another word, which is edict. Okay? Because otherwise, then the stature of that person will become divine. And nobody, the Pope could ordain again. Please remember that. Okay? The Pope could ordain because he was the direct representative of God on earth. So the Pope could ordain things, but the kings couldn't ordain things. And this is indicative of the subjugation of all other realms of human activity, including the realm of ruling. They were all subjugated to the church. That is a point that you need to understand and remember. Now, they didn't stop here. They called the universe macrocosmos, okay, which is the universe, the cosmos. But for some strange reason, the Christians didn't want to use cosmos. It's not a very strange reason. You'll get to know it in a minute. Then they went on to say that everything um, in the universe is a microcosmos, microcosmos, or it is also called minor mundus, or sometimes it's called homo mundus minor. Okay, we have no idea who gave all these different terms, but for some strange reason, the person who gave this term homo mundus minor, some people say it is homo minor mundus. Homo refers to the human being. Okay, so the person who gave this expression, homo mundus minor, uh, this refers to just the homo mundus minor. This expression was supposedly the creation of a Christian thinker whose name was uh, what is his name? Yeah, is it Amicus, or I think it is Amicus. Amicus Manlius Severinius Boetius. Boetius. The TH is a soft sound. Okay. This man apparently gave this thing about Homo minor mundus or Homo mundus minor. See, please understand one thing. There is a difference between calling something a microcosmos and calling something a minor mundus or a Homo minor mundus or a Homo mundus minor. When you use this minor mundus kind of a thing, then you're referring only to the human being. You're referring only to the human being. When you talk about the microcosmos, then you're talking about everything that is there in the cosmos. everything, trees, animals, all of these, all of these are being talked about when you talk about the microcosmos. But when you talk about the minor mundus, then you are only talking about the man being a microcosmos, a human being, uh, you know, being the microcosmos. Now, microcosmos, like the macrocosmos, is the divine will. Okay, and it is the uniform uh, government of the whole uni- universe, directing, after directing, what should we say? Directing all that is manifold, uh, to one and only one end. The end not here as an ending. The end is a goal, a purpose. So the universe is purposive. This is early Christianity, huh? This is early Christianity before all the corruptions came into it. So, therefore, everything in the universe is a unity. That is why the universe, because of the fact that it is all unity, the universe is a unity. It's a single verse, one verse, not many verses. And this principle in Latin, it was called the uh, Principium. Do you need to put a capital U here? We will. Unitatis. Please, sorry. This principle that everything in the universe is a unity is the Principium Unitatis or Unitatis. That would be the Latin pronunciation. Okay, and as per this principle, the Principium Unitatis principle, which is principle of unity, if you like, as per this principle, the one always comes before, hey, before the many. Have you got this? See, the universe. Okay, let me do one thing. Let me, I think I should just go through the whole thing, and then instead of explaining the bits, which will basically mean that, I'll be repeating things again and again. Okay. The Principium Unitatis says the one always comes before the many. Therefore, all will have to be capital. All manyness comes out of oneness, which in Latin is omnes multitudo. Yeah, omnes multitudo derive mm, derivatur ab uno, which is all. Omnes is all, right? All multitudo. Multitudo is multiple, many, plural. Okay, all plurality is derived out of a singularity or a oneness, which is a divine principle, right? So, therefore, because one always comes before the many, you'll have to say all manyness comes out of oneness, omnes multitudo derivator ab uno, and to oneness it returns, which in Latin will be ad. No, that's not looking nice. Ad unum uh, reducitur. All manyness comes out of oneness, and to oneness it returns. That is the principle that you find in early Christianity. Okay, and therefore they say that all plurality, I'm not using plurality in the modern sense of the term. It has a completely different meaning. Here, plurality is just the opposite of singularity. Okay, all plurality is divinely subordinated. All plurality is divinely subordinated to unity, which in Latin will be Ordinatio ad unum. Okay, all plurality is divinely subordinated to unity. So it is Ordinatio ad unum. Because this is a divine principle, you can use the word ordinatio or ordinate, subordinate, all those words can be used here because that is the will of God. We are talking about the will. Where did I write that? I wrote that somewhere. Divine will. Microcosm. I don't know why am I. Hey, shut up. I don't know why I keep pointing to the screen. Please forgive me for that. It's idiocy on my part, which isn't going away. Microcosmos, like the macrocosmos, is the divine will, and it is a uniform government. Please keep that in mind. Just let me finish off this point and then I'll explain it. Ray, please, no. Sorry. All heavenly bodies, Ray, are bound by one goal and in and find that goal in their unity, or in Latin it is called, they find their unity in primum mobile. Why do I get this feeling I'm alone in this world except for my dogs? Anyway, I hope you're still there. So, see, once Christianity became the official religion, then the Christians took over. One of the principles with which they started actually is by saying that all people, originally they meant people, are connected in a divinely ordained universe. So again, ordained is divine, right? A man-made edict, sorry, a mortal's rule is an edict, not an ordainment. It is not an ordainment. There was no ordinance at that time. It came later. It was called ordainment. Ordainment also was baptism and taking people into the ranks of Christians through baptism. Otherwise, you're not a Christian. If you have not had baptism, you can't go to a church and take communion. Anyway, so they said everything in the universe is divinely ordained. The universe is a macrocosmos. Actually, that is a redundancy, that my macrocosmos, because if you take it as a macrocosmos, then you are saying there is a cosmos. And when you, it's like seeing something through a microscope and making it bigger. Okay, looking through a microscope and making it bigger. That will be macro. Okay, the macro picture, right? So I really don't know why this was used. It continues to befuddle me. It has been befuddling me for years. Why did they choose to use the word macrocosmos? I've tried to even look into the Gregorian uh, Bible, King Edward's Bible, uh, trying to understand why they call it a macrocosmos. Is there a cosmos and this is a bigger version of it? I don't know. There doesn't seem to be. So what could simply be called a cosmos is being called a macrocosmos. Okay. And that everything in the universe is a microcosmos, miniaturized. Okay. It is something which is miniaturized. So the human being is a microcosmos. And what is a microcosmos actually? Let me explain that here. Let me put in, yeah, just let me put it here. Microcosmos reflects in within itself, sorry. So the microcosmos reflects within itself what the macrocosmos is. This is very much, and therefore everything in the universe is a unity. And as per this principle, the one always comes before the many. All manyness comes out of oneness, and to oneness it returns. This
Uh,
is, yeah,
Sir,
yes, ma'am.
then what are the other things that constitute macro?
That is
I'm
what
unable to
that is
understand.
precisely what I said. They could have just said the cosmos.
Right.
They
If
could have just
they
said the,
want to put in center the human being and say
no, they're not
it,
putting the human being in center. They're not. Okay,
Okay.
microcosmos involves everything in the manyness of the universe. That also is a part of the unity of the universe, and it has in itself a reflection of the unity of the macrocosmos. So, if you look into yourself, you have all the ingredients that are there in the microcosmos. In the macrocosmos. When you use it with reference to microcosmos, you're using it with reference to anything and everything in the world. You're using it with reference to everything that is contained in the world, but not when you're using minor mundus. Okay, or what do we call it? The homo mundus minor. That is where only the human being is being talked about. But otherwise, in the other things, even celestial bodies, which I've called heavenly bodies, because that is what is uh, used by the Christians in English, they call them heavenly bodies. That is because of the fact that they believe that the heaven is up there, right? So the stars, the moon, the sun, everything which is up in the sky is heavenly bodies. Lucifer, who's below the earth, is in hell. Nobody can see hell, but you can see the heavenly bodies, though you don't see heaven. Because all these stars that you see, the sun, all these celestial objects are heavenly bodies. That is the understanding that the Christians have. So the microcosmos also will be these individual celestial bodies. Individual celestial bodies will be microcosmos.
So not only man.
No, not only man.
Okay.
Absolutely. Only when you say minor mundus, it is man. And especially when you say homo mundus minor, specifically, that is the time when it is man. When you use microcosmos, no, it is not just man, it is everything. It is everything.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So it is very, very much like the Advaita principle of Shankaracharya. And the funny part is the Advaita principle of Shankaracharya comes after this.
Mm.
It comes, when was Shankaracharya? Somewhere around 7th century, I think, CE, right? So he said the whole world is the Brahman and everything in it is the Atman. The Atman is a diminished Brahman. The substance of the Brahman and the substance of the Atman are the same. And therefore, when you die, the Atman becomes one with the Brahman because the substance of the Atman and the Brahman are the same, which is exactly what this is saying. And Shankaracharya comes afterwards, but I tried researching on this also to see if Shankaracharya came into any kind of contact with Christianity. He didn't. He didn't. Neither did Ramanuja come into contact with. Who? advocated Visishtadvaita. I don't want to go into that. Another time we'll go into all that. Okay, but the similarity with Shankaracharya's Advaita is uncanny. What I have found, however, is that the principle of the Atman and Brahman being the same is there in the Vedas, being constituted by the same elements. They are constituted by the same elements. See, for example, this body is Panchabhuta. Panchabhuta, it's not like Ram Gopal Verma's bhoot, ghost, demon. It's not those. Panchabhutas are the five elements that constitute the world. What are the five elements? Air, earth, water, sky, and which is the fifth one?
Fire.
Fire. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm really growing old. I think I should retire now.
No, sir, please.
Yeah. So, fire. So, the body is supposed to comprise of these five. And that is the reason why, according to Sanatana Dharma, you have to cremate the dead. By cremating the dead, you are returning the body that is constituted by the five elements coming together. You are saying now the five elements will defrag. If you want me to use this thing from, they'll not defrag, they'll fragment. They'll fragment and become individual elements again. That is why the idea of cremation and not burial. Okay, that is why Sanatana Dharma believed in cremation, which is returning the body to its five elements. So that is there in the Vedas. So this is a tricky thing. Who arrived? Some people say that a lot of this, what came into Christianity, was borrowed from the Vedas. I don't know how true that is. And these are not Indians, not Indians. People in ISKCON, Westerners, and some of them are amazing pundits. We tend to look at the Hare Krishna movement people as idiots. They're not. They are absolute pundits. And most of them are German. They are German and they speak fluent Sanskrit. I thought the Hare Krishna fellows were jokers. So once I heard a speech by a man and I said, this man is no joker. What he is saying is no joke. He is explaining wonderfully what the universe is and what is Krishna. So we don't know which came first, but this is Christianity anyway. So when you say microcosmos, it involves everything. Okay, the microcosmos reflects within itself the what the macrocosmos is. And therefore, the universe is a unity. It's not a diversity. One verse, not multiverse, many verses. No. And that is the principle of unity, which is called Principium Unitatis. And as per this particular principle, which is Principium Unitatis, or the principle that the one always comes before the many. Okay, that is what we derive out of the Principium Unitatis. The one comes before the many. And that is why even today we say the whole is bigger and mightier than the sum of all its parts. Okay, some people say it's more powerful. I think that is the correct word to use. The whole, which is
Sir,
the
sum
universe,
is equals to parts. Sum is equals to whole.
sum of its parts. It
Sum of
equal
the parts is equals to whole.
in mathematics, not in theology and theosophy.
Okay.
In mathematics, or you say 10 and you break a wall and take out, it is one wall made of 10 bricks. You break the wall, then there are 10 bricks, right? That is what maths will tell you. So the wall is the sum of the 10 bricks, right?
Yes, sir.
But the philosophical and the theological and the theosophical understanding of that is the brick doesn't have an identity of its own. Will somebody say, let me buy a brick? You won't say that, would you? You'll say,
No.
I'll buy a brick if you need to construct something, or you'll buy many bricks in order to construct something. And therefore, the whole comes first. Then you put the bricks to create that whole. And that whole is more powerful than the bricks, because the moment you break the whole, the brick is powerless. As a wall, it has power, but the bricks don't have a power, unless, of course, you want to throw it at someone. Yeah, that is only when it has power. So in theosophy, people will say, the hey, shut up. You will hear this thing that the whole is more powerful than the sum of all its parts. Okay. And I believe that in the case of India, unlike the United States of America, where states came together to form a union, modern India, post independence India, first the whole came into being. A whole called a country called India. The linguistic principle was used after a state's reorganization committee was set up, and most of the states started coming into being in 1956, right? So the whole came before. In India, unlike in any other part of the world, the political India, the new modern political India, the country that we now live in, the whole came before dividing it into parts. So that is what I'm trying to tell you. This
Okay, sir.
example, this example can be applied to. So that's why nobody, if I ask you, if somebody asks you, uh, where are you from? You'll not say, I'm from Hanmakonda. If you go abroad or some foreigner comes and asks, if you go abroad and somebody asks you, where are you from? You'll say, I'm from India, right? You don't say, I'm from Hanmakonda. So all other identities are subordinated to the Indian identity. All other identities, Muslim, Hindu, Parsi, Sikh, all of them are subordinated to the Indian identity. Languages are all subordinated to the Indian identity. They have over 700 dialects, about 22, I could be wrong, uh, officially recognized languages. All of them are subordinated to the concept of India. India first, anything else later. India first, everything else later. Even N.T. Ramarao, who made a slogan Jai Telugu Desam, he also ended his speeches by first saying Jai Hind, Jai Telugu Desam. First he said Jai Hind. Then he said Jai Telugu Desam, not as his party, but as the Telugu people. Okay, so that is the beauty of our country. We subordinate every other identity. We subordinate every other identity to the Indian identity. That is what we do. No other country does this. That's one of our really, really great things, and I hope things stay this way. I love this country. I really do. But let's not go into all that right now. So let's get into this. Okay, so this is the principle of unity. So all manyness, the principle of unity does not deny plurality. Okay, so all manyness comes out of oneness. In Latin, it is omnis. Omnis is all, the whole, all multitudo. Multitude is many. All manyness is derived. Derivatur is derived. Derivatur ab uno. All multitude is derived out of one. In English, you put it as therefore, I mean, you don't have to put therefore here. All manyness comes out of the oneness. Okay, that is what it is. Omnis multitudo derivatur ab uno. And to oneness it returns. It doesn't stay that way. It will go back. So that is why it is ad unum reducitur. It goes back to becoming a oneness. The oneness is the permanence. The manyness is the transitory or the transient phase. The oneness is the permanent thing. The transitory part of it is manyness. And I had written somewhere about, yeah, uh, microcosmos like this point I need to, is the divine will. It is the divine will and it is the uniform government. The Bible uses this term, by the way. It says it is the uniform government of the whole universe, the macrocosmos. The government. So who is the monarch then? The monarch is God. His representation is the Pope, El Papa. Ministers are the ones who carry out ministrations to God. You know what ministrations are, right? You say, I was administered a dose of COVID. That is a ministration, taking care of something. So the word minister is a Christian word. That's why the Americans don't use minister. What the Americans use is the word, um, what do you call it? Um, they use the word which is secretary. They don't use ministers because it's a Christian thing. So all plurality is divinely subordinated to unity. It is divinely subordinated to unity. So that is an it is ordinated. Ordinatio ad unum. That's what it means. It is preordained, if you like, to return to that oneness. Unum is oneness. Now, heavenly bodies are also bound by one goal and find that goal in their unity or in primum mobile. This needs a bit of an explanation. Okay, trees die, human beings die, other forms of life die, but do heavenly bodies die? They don't. And neither do they all come together and become one. Though the Big Bang theory says, actually the Big Bang theory is this, out of oneness comes all the manyness. What is the Big Bang theory? The bursting of the sun and the throwing out of the planetary system, isn't it? So that is very much like this, the Big Bang theory. I'm sure it has Christian influences. I'm sure it has more Christian influences. Big Bang theory, right? So now when we're talking about heavenly bodies, they may appear to be many. There is a multitude of them, but they are all bound by one goal. And they find that goal in their unity. Now you might ask, how do they find their unity? How do they find their unity? Okay, after all, they're all so strewn apart. But by this time, people had known about constellations, thanks to Indians. What we call the Saptarishi Mandalam in Sanskrit became the Great Bear constellation in English. There is an equivalent of Latin, which I have forgotten. Sheer disuse of these things. And so, what are we looking at? These heavenly bodies are looking separate to you, but they are all moving in unison. They are all moving in unison. Just look at our own solar system. Does the moon say, I've had enough of this earth. Let me go find and go round and round another planet. Will the moon say that and say, I've had enough of this earth? I am not going to go around this earth anymore. I'm tired. It's not going to say that, right? So there is all these celestial bodies are moving together. There is a movement. The universe is moving. My father had this uncanny ability. When I was young, in the summers, we used to come and sleep on our terrace. And it used to be those days, Hyderabad had a lot of open spaces. And believe me, in the middle of May, somewhere around 1 o'clock, you had to cover yourself with something to keep yourself warm. That's how cool it used to become in the night. You had to cover yourself. And my dad had this uncanny ability. I don't know where he developed it. He told me a lot of things, but he never told me how he learned all those things. Okay. And he told me that look at that. That is the Saptarishi Mandalam. He, he said, by looking at it, he said, the time now will be 1:15 or 1:20. He wasn't wearing a watch. He used to take off his watch when he went to sleep. But I was wearing a watch. I checked the time. It was 1:30. Now 1:15, 1:20. For somebody who doesn't know anything about astronomy, or that's what I thought. He could tell the time pretty accurately just by looking at the sky. So these things move to a pattern. They move to a pattern. And that unity is the primum mobile. Mobile is what? Movement, right? It is movement. Mobile. In English, that becomes mobile. So that which moves. This unity of heavenly bodies is primum mobile, is primary mobility. Primary mobility that is conjoined with one goal, one purpose. All other movements that you see come after the mobility of heavenly bodies. All other mobility that you see comes after heavenly bodies. So that is primum mobile. That is, they're not there just like that. And again, I draw your attention to our own astrology, which makes a connection between us, time of birth, place of birth, the stars, and the planetary positions at that time. And good astrologers were able to tell. Nowadays, we have all that knowledge is dead. That knowledge is dead. That knowledge is dead. Uh, Nowadays, you have all bogus astrologers. But at one time, they were very good astrologers. I've seen two of them, great astrologers. I was very young and they were very old. One man told me about my life It came exactly like he said. Not the whole life, one phase of my life. Anyway, let's not go into all that. So it is primum mobile, that is the primary movement, and that is unity, that they're all moving together, maintaining the distance. So please don't get into our religion is better than their religion, or this is what we tend to do. I have found that most religions are watered down. You know, people give cock and bull stories and say this is religion. That isn't. It is not. Far from it. Far from it. This is what the Romans were able to do. So it's actually some kind of synthesizing a Roman religion with Christianity, which produced all this. Which produced all this. So the I was going to say something. What was I going to say? Oh, where did I'll answer it. Just give me a minute. Right. Uh, so the Roman Empire, when it became the Holy Roman Empire, also became a universal spiritual civilization now. Stopped being a universal pragmatic civilization. And Christianity grew in power. The Holy Roman Emperor title became like our president. He had no powers. All the powers were vested with the Pope and the clergy. Yeah, Madam Padma has a doubt. Maybe others also have a doubt. Um, where is that fellow gone? Did you see a dog with a white cone in the background?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yeah. So, oh, no, he's not here. Well, we thought they were still puppies, 6 months old, and they had to be spayed. So, my wife elaborately took an appointment for June 30th to get both of them spayed or castrated, if you like, so that we don't get saddled with puppies. Okay. Now, unfortunately, Madam here came into estrus. I didn't know dogs come into estrus at 6 months. This one came into estrus or coming into season, as it is. Some people say coming into heat. I don't like that. So the gentleman got very, very interested. Now that she has come into estrus, she can't be operated on. And if we leave them together, then we'll have puppies. So he had to be snipped, castrated. Now, after they are castrated, they put sutures, and dogs have a tendency to lick and bite them off, pull them out. So, to stop them from doing that, you put what is called that cone that you're seeing, that white cone. It's actually called the Elizabethan collar. Okay. Uh, During the time of Queen Elizabeth the First, that was one of the fashions. They didn't wear it across their face like that poor doggy is having. They wore a collar coming from here till here. They wore a collar. That is why it's called the Elizabethan collar. That is what he's wearing. Poor fellow went for a checkup. I thought they'll remove that horrible thing. Seeing him like that is making me feel very bad. But that's the way life is, I guess. I don't know. I'll have to find out how many more days he needs to wear that horrible thing. Just imagine somebody does that to you. Put something on your head. Okay, we'll stop here today. I'll see you tomorrow, and we'll tie this up. Christianity. Let's tie it up and go into the church, or actually the sacerdotium imperium controversy. Please remember this sentence: microcosmos, like the macrocosmos, is the divine will, and it is the uniform government of the whole universe directing all that is manifold to one and only one end. You have to understand that. You have to remember that. And I have a bit of good news for you. On Monday, Akshay is going to teach Marcus Aurelius in my place. Okay?
Okay, sir.
Yeah. So Akshay will teach about Marcus Aurelius on Monday. So thank you. I think Madam Yasmin will be waiting.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, righto.
I hope
Thank you,
no
sir.
one will attend that class.
Why? Don't underestimate yourself, Akshay. People will come. Hmm. Okay. See you tomorrow.
Yes, sir. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.